The Faroe Islands did not invite human settlement. They demanded it be earned. When Norse settlers arrived around 800, they found no indigenous population, no established pathways, no mercy from the elements. What they discovered instead was a landscape forged in fire and ice, sculpted by millennia of volcanic fury and glacial grinding. These mountains, these valleys carved deeper than logic would suggest, these coastlines shattered into 1,000 inlets, they were not designed for human comfort. The bedrock beneath your feet here is roughly 60 million years old, layer upon layer of basalt from repeated volcanic eruptions that built these islands from the ocean floor. The forces that created this place still echo in its character. Every cliff face tells a story of violence and patience, of molten rock meeting freezing water, of tectonic pressures building and releasing across epochs we can barely comprehend. The settlers who came here understood something profound about human resilience. They looked at this hostile perfection and saw not impossibility, but purpose. They built their lives in the spaces between the wind and the waves, learning to read weather patterns that could shift from calm to catastrophic within minutes. Their survival depended on humility, on accepting that they would never conquer this land, only coexist with it on its own terms. This acceptance became the foundation of Faroese culture, a philosophy woven so deeply into the social fabric that it persists unchanged into our modern era. Walk through any Faroese village today, and you'll encounter homes painted in colors that seem defiant against the gray palette nature provides, reds and yellows and blues that refuse to surrender to the monotone dominance of stone and sea. But look closer and you'll notice these homes are positioned with careful intention, tucked into hillsides that provide shelter from the relentless North Atlantic gales, oriented to capture every precious moment of sunlight during the dark winter months. The architecture here is not about making statements, it's about survival elevated to an art form. Turf-roofed buildings, some dating back centuries, demonstrate a construction philosophy born from necessity, where grass and earth provide insulation against cold that seeps through everything else. These roofs are living things, requiring maintenance, changing with seasons, connecting the shelter of home directly to the land itself. The population of the Faroe Islands hovers around 53,000 people, scattered across 17 of the 18 islands. Think about that number for a moment. 53,000. That's smaller than a single neighborhood in most major cities. This scarcity of human presence creates a social dynamic almost incomprehensible to those raised in urban anonymity. Here, everyone is connected by no more than 2 or 3 degrees of separation. Your teacher might be your neighbor's cousin. The person who repairs your boat could be your grandmother's childhood friend. The Prime Minister shops at the same grocery store as everyone else, stands in the same lines, experiences the same weather delays. There are no gates, no security details, no distance between governance and governed. This intimacy shapes everything. Crime is not deterred by police presence alone, but by the certainty that wrongdoing will be known, discussed, remembered. Your reputation is not something you build through carefully curated social media. but through decades of small interactions, favors given and returned, promises kept or broken. This creates a society where trust is not idealistic, but practical, where community is not a choice, but an inescapable reality. The Faroese language carries this history in every syllable. It descends directly from Old Norse, preserving linguistic structures that have vanished elsewhere, maintaining connections to the Viking Age that feel less historical and more familial. When Faroese people speak their native tongue, they're using words their ancestors would recognize, expressions that have survived because this isolation protected them from the homogenizing forces that reshaped continental languages. For centuries, Danish colonial rule tried to suppress Faroese, relegating it to the status of peasant dialect, insisting that education and official business be conducted in Danish. But the language survived in homes, in the ancient ballads passed down through generations, in the defiant assertion that culture cannot be legislated away. Today, Faroese thrives, spoken by virtually every resident, taught in schools, used in parliament, proving that a language need not serve billions to matter infinitely to those who speak it. This cultural preservation finds its most powerful expression in the chain dance, a tradition unbroken since medieval times. Picture this: dozens, sometimes hundreds of people forming circles that wind through community halls, moving in synchronized steps to ballads that can last for hours. These are not performances. No one watches from the sidelines. Everyone participates, from children to elders, singing verses that tell of legendary heroes, tragic loves, ancient battles. The ballads themselves are oral histories, thousands of stanzas preserved without written notation for generations, memorized through repetition and shared commitment. The chain dance is a living library, a physical manifestation of collective memory, a ritual that erases the boundary between past and present. When young Faroese people dance these ancient steps, they're not recreating history, they're continuing it, adding their voices to a song that has never stopped. The economy of the Faroe Islands revolves around the same force that defines its geography, the ocean. Fishing accounts for roughly 95% of all exports, a dependence so complete it would terrify most modern economists. Yet this arrangement has persisted not despite its risks, but because the Faroese have developed expertise that transforms vulnerability into advantage. The waters surrounding these islands teem with cod, haddock, herring, and mackerel, populations sustained by the meeting of warm Gulf Stream currents and cold Arctic flows. Fishing here is not industrial extraction divorced from consequence. It's intimate, immediate, dangerous. Every crew member understands that the ocean gives and the ocean takes, that respect for sustainable practices is not environmental sentimentality, but survival insurance. Modern fish processing facilities coexist with traditional drying houses where cod hangs in the wind for months, creating a delicacy that commands premium prices in European markets. Salmon farming has grown into a massive industry, massive underwater pens utilizing the pristine cold waters and strong currents that these islands provide naturally. But economic diversification whispers quietly through Faroese society, careful not to disturb what works while acknowledging what might become necessary. Tourism grows each year, drawn by Instagram images of impossibly green valleys beneath impossibly sheer cliffs, by the promise of landscapes that haven't been tamed for visitor convenience. The Faroese approach to tourism reveals their values clearly. There are no mega-resorts, no all-inclusive packages insulating visitors from reality. Instead, you hike trails that require competence and courage. You encounter weather that will turn you back if you're unprepared. You participate in an environment that maintains its integrity regardless of how many travelers it attracts. Music has emerged as an unexpected cultural export, with Faroese musicians blending traditional instruments and melodies with contemporary genres, creating sounds that carry the island's isolation and beauty into international consciousness. The food culture here mirrors the landscape in its starkness and its surprising depth. For centuries, preservation was not culinary preference, but absolute necessity. Fermented lamb, wind-dried fish, salted seabirds, these were not delicacies, but survival strategies for people who could not rely on supply chains. Winter storms could isolate communities for weeks, making self-sufficiency a matter of life and death. These traditional preparations remain central to Faroese cuisine, though now they're complemented by modern gastronomy that has gained international recognition. Restaurant KOKS, which held a Michelin star, built its reputation on hyperlocal ingredients and techniques that honor rather than hide the island's raw character. But the truest Faroese meal is still eaten at home, around a table where 3 generations share dishes made from recipes passed down orally, where the lamb was raised on your neighbor's farm, where the fish was caught by someone you know by name. The physical landscape demands constant engagement. This is not a place where nature serves as pleasant backdrop to human activity. Here, nature is the activity. Hiking trails cross terrain that can be genuinely dangerous, where fog descends without warning, erasing visibility, where winds can knock you off your feet, where cliffs drop hundreds of meters into seas that offer no forgiveness. Yet these same paths have been walked for centuries, sheep tracks worn into stone, routes connecting villages that had no other means of communication for generations. The Faroese relationship with their environment is not romantic. It's practical, cautious, deeply informed by generations of experience. They teach their children to read the sky, to understand how quickly conditions can change, to respect the power that surrounds them. Sheep outnumber people here, roughly 2 to 1, their grazing maintaining the landscape in ways that predate human intervention, their wool providing raw material for traditional crafts that remain economically and culturally relevant. infrastructure that connects these islands represents one of the most impressive engineering achievements of any island nation. Imagine boring tunnels through solid basalt, beneath ocean floors, connecting islands separated by some of the most treacherous waters in the North Atlantic. The undersea tunnel between Streymoy and Eysturoy, completed in 2100, features an underwater roundabout adorned with art installations, transforming necessary infrastructure into cultural statement. Bridges leap across sounds where currents race at speeds that make navigation precarious. Ferries maintain schedules despite conditions that would paralyze less determined societies. These connections are not merely convenient, they're existential, preventing the depopulation that has hollowed out remote communities worldwide. A young family can live in a small village, maintaining connections to land and tradition, while commuting to work in Tórshavn, accessing services and opportunities that would otherwise require relocation. This balance between remoteness and connection extends into the digital realm. The Faroe Islands boast internet connectivity that rivals or exceeds much of Europe, fiber optic cables extending to even the smallest settlements. A graphic designer in a village of 200 people can serve clients globally without ever leaving home. This technological advancement provides economic opportunity without demanding cultural surrender. Young people can build careers without abandoning the communities that define them. This changes the traditional narrative of rural decline, where opportunity pulls the young away, leaving aging populations and eroding infrastructure. Here, many who leave for university education return, bringing skills and perspectives that quietly modernize society from within. They've experienced the anonymity of large cities, the efficiency of centralized systems, the diversity of cosmopolitan life. And they choose to return anyway, drawn by something that cannot be reduced to economic calculation. What makes them return? The answer is rarely straightforward. Some speak of safety, of children playing outside without constant supervision, of communities where trust is default rather than exception. Others mention belonging, that bone-deep recognition that comes from being known, from understanding your place in a web of relationships stretching back generations. Still others talk about meaning, about lives shaped by more than career advancement and consumption, about work that connects directly to survival and community welfare. There's the silence too, the ability to stand on a hillside and hear only wind and birds and the distant rhythm of waves. This silence is not empty. It's full, pregnant with the kind of thought and reflection that modern life increasingly makes impossible. The seasonal rhythm enforces a pace that urban existence has forgotten. Summer brings near-constant daylight, the sun barely dipping below the horizon before returning, creating an urgency to accomplish, to prepare, to make use of every available hour. Fishing intensifies, construction projects race against winter's approach, gardens explode with growth compressed into mere weeks. Then winter arrives with its inverse extremes. Daylight shrinks to a few pale hours, darkness becomes the dominant reality, and life turns inward. This is not seasonal depression, though visitors often struggle with the darkness. For the Faroese, winter is restoration, a time when the frantic pace eases, when community gatherings provide connection that the busy summer months often preclude. The chain dance happens more frequently in winter. Families spend long evenings together. Reading increases, conversation deepens, and the culture of hugni, that uniquely Faroese concept of hygge-like coziness, reaches its fullest expression. Yet challenges persist, some worsening despite technological advancement and economic stability. The cost of living is staggeringly high, with groceries and consumer goods carrying prices that would shock mainland Europeans. This is the price of remoteness, the expense of importing nearly everything from fuel to furniture across hundreds of kilometers of open ocean. Climate change manifests in unpredictable weather patterns, warmer temperatures affecting fish migrations, increased storm intensity threatening infrastructure. Tourism, while economically beneficial, brings pressures that strain the delicate balance. Popular hiking trails suffer erosion from thousands of feet walking routes that previously saw dozens. Litter appears in places that maintain their pristine character for centuries. The Instagram effect drives visitors to specific locations, creating congestion in landscapes that were never designed to accommodate crowds. The Faroese response to these challenges reveals their character. Rather than implementing top-down restrictions, communities engage in collective problem-solving, seeking solutions that preserve both environment and economy. Educational campaigns teach visitors about responsible behavior without hostility. Infrastructure improvements target sustainable tourism rather than maximizing volume. There's pragmatism here, an understanding that absolute preservation is impossible, but that careful management can maintain what matters most. This approach reflects centuries of experience managing resources under conditions that punish miscalculation. Sheep grazing is regulated to prevent overuse. Fishing quotas are set and enforced, even when they limit short-term profit. The understanding that today's restraint enables tomorrow's survival is not theoretical. It's lived reality, proven across generations. Standing at the edge of the world, quite literally in places where cliffs simply end and Atlantic begins, you understand something about human possibility and limitations simultaneously. The Faroe Islands exist because people refuse to accept that harsh conditions make life impossible. They built societies in valleys that flood, on coastlines that storms obliterate, beneath skies that deliver more rain than seems physically possible. But they survived and eventually thrived not through conquest, not by bending nature to their will, but through acceptance, adaptation, and a humility that recognizes humanity's proper scale. We live in an era that celebrates disruption, that values innovation over tradition, that measures worth in growth and expansion. The Faroe Islands offer a different model entirely. Here, success means maintaining what was, protecting what matters, ensuring that change serves continuity rather than replacing it. This is not stagnation, it's sophistication, the hard-won wisdom that knows what to preserve and what to evolve. So I ask you this, what would your life look like if community mattered more than convenience? If your daily existence was shaped by forces beyond your control, requiring cooperation rather than competition? If you were known, truly known, by everyone around you, making reputation and character the currencies that actually matter? These are not hypothetical questions. They're invitations to examine the assumptions underlying modern life, to consider whether the path we're collectively traveling is the only option available. The Faroe Islands will continue existing in their peculiar balance, too small to dominate global attention, too remarkable to ignore completely. The lessons they offer about resilience, community, and living within limits rather than against them grow more relevant as our planet confronts challenges that technology alone cannot solve. Thank you for joining this journey to the edge of the map, where the old world meets the new, where nature still writes the rules, and where humanity demonstrates both its fragility and its extraordinary capacity to endure. May you find in your own life the courage to face what cannot be changed, the wisdom to protect what truly matters, and the humility to understand your place in the larger story. If this story moved you, if it challenged you, if it made you think differently about what's possible, please subscribe to our channel. Share this with someone who needs to remember that a different way of living still exists. And tell me in the comments, what would you be willing to give up to gain the kind of belonging the Faroe Islands offer? Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.